Look, a lot of people out there are thinking that they have relationship problems when what they really have is a self-leadership problem inside of the relationship. Okay, so that's where I want us to be starting here in July. Because if you miss that, you're going to spend your whole life trying to get better at communication while still disappearing inside of it. And what I know to be true is that, well, that just doesn't really work. So I see a lot of people, right? I see them exhausted because they're just carrying too much, right? They're exhausted because every time a relationship gets emotionally loaded, right? They start handing themselves away in like these little pieces, and they're calling it love, they're calling it patience, they're calling it maturity, flexibility, understanding, and a lot of times they're calling them, being the bigger person, right? So they start carrying the whole room, whatever room it is they're in, right? They start over explaining, or they're softening what they really mean. I see that one a lot. And they start scanning, right? They're scanning, they're looking at the other person's face. They're looking at their mood, their tone, their reactions, the level of disappointment or understanding, right? They're looking for that level of approval. And then they're making these little adjustments to themselves that they think is accordingly necessary for the situation. Anyway, they're calling that being relational. And sometimes it's just not that. A lot of times what it is, I see it, right? It's just that whole self-abandonment with really good manners attached to it. So that's the conversation, right, that I want us to be having this month. So July is all about relational authority. It's all about how to lead without losing yourself, how to stay connected without handing away, right? Like all of your clarity, your boundaries, your limits, your limitations, the pacing that feels right for you, your center, right? Your self-respect. Every single time that another human being gets uncomfortable, because a lot of people, right, a lot of us, right, we were trained to believe that being good in a relationship meant being easy, right? To be easy to access, easy to talk to, easy to be needed, easy to lean on, easy to disappoint. We think we need to be easy for guilt, even, right? Easy to pull into that emotional labor that was never actually ours. And if you're not careful, right, that becomes your whole relational identity. So you become the one who understands all the time, the one who adjusts, the one who smooths things over, the one who rescues, the one who over explains everything, or the one that doesn't say what they really mean until they're already resentful. And that a lot of times comes out like a big explosion, right? Maybe become the one that carries too much and then wonders why the relationships are feeling so heavy. This is where our locus of control really matters. And it's because every relational moment, right? Every relational moment has layers. And so there's what's mine, right? Like my body, my tone, my pacing, my boundaries, my limits and limitations, right? Like my interpretation, my response, my yes, my no, my choice, right? It's my choice. And then there's what's theirs, right? Like their mood, their disappointment, their confusion, their expectations, their reaction, their level of maturity, right? Like their accountability, their willingness to hear you, me, right? Whoever, or not to. It's up to them. And of course, then there's the wonderful dynamic between the self and the other, right? That it's that dance. It's the role I choose to step into in that situation, the role they choose to step into in that situation, and the pattern between the two that has now become so familiar over time that it feels automatic. And a lot of people don't know how to separate those things. So that when somebody's upset and they take it in, right? Oh, man, take that in, right? If somebody's disappointed, right? They make it mean that they failed at something. When somebody's unclear, oh, I got to explain this better, right? Like, so they rush to explain harder. And somebody gets cold, right? So they start scanning to adjust. Somebody wants more than they actually want to give. So instead of getting clean about it, right, they start accommodating. And why do we do this, right? It's not, it's really because we don't know where we stop and the other person starts, right? Like, so it gets blurry and it becomes a pretty big problem. So just because something is happening right in front of you, right, doesn't mean it's yours to carry. And just because you feel it doesn't mean it's yours to fix. And just because another person out there is uncomfortable doesn't mean that you are in fact doing something wrong. And I need you to hear that. Because a lot of us adults out here, right? We're out here organizing ourselves around other people's emotional reactions. And then we're wondering, like, why don't I feel solid in this relationship? I've made all of these tweaks and adjustments to me because it's what I perceive that person needs, wants, whatever, right? So if the room gets to decide who you are, how clear you're allowed to be, what you're allowed to say, or how much of yourself you're allowed to keep private, and then also, how quickly you have to fold, right, in order to restore that level of comfort, right? Then you're not leading yourself, okay? You're being led by the interaction. And that's the thing, right? I want you to spend some time noticing this week is when in a relationship or when a relationship, an exchange, whatever, gets hard, where do you lose yourself? Do you lose yourself in guilt, urgency, the need to explain, right? Like, I'm trying to get them to understand right now, right? Is it in people pleasing? Is it in over listening? Carrying their mood? Maybe it's in trying to stabilize, right, the environment, the space. Perhaps it's in becoming the emotional adult for everybody involved, right? Because wherever you lose yourself the fastest, that's where your relational authority, sorry about that, is the weakest, right? And that's not a slam on you, right? It's useful information that if you're paying attention to, right, you'll be able to see. And that makes it useful because what you can see, you can start interrupting, shifting, reframing. So it's not about becoming harder. It's not about caring less about the other people in your relationships. It's not about deciding like, Every difficult person in your life is toxic. And so the answer is to burn everything down and, call it healing. That's not what we're doing here, right? Like we're I'm teaching self-leadership inside of relationships, right? I'm teaching that ability to stay with you, to continue being you while another person is having their own experience. And I'm teaching you that the ability to care without carrying, to listen without disappearing, love without leaking, right? To stay connected without just becoming compliant. So you can stay clear without becoming cruel, right? It's different. So if you want a place to start this month, I want you to start here, right? Like, where do I lose myself in a relationship? And what have I been calling love or respect or, whatever you want to call it, right? Like in that relationship that is actually just me practicing self-abandonment, right? That question's going to take you somewhere real. So I look forward to that self-exploration. See you next week.